At the tomb that day, when Jesus says, Lazarus, come forth, not only does he speak those words, but when we encounter him, there's a power for Lazarus to truly come forth. And what happens when he comes forth? We're told in verse 44, he who died came out, bound hand and foot, with grave clothes, and his face was wrapped with a cloth. Jesus said to them, loose him and let him go. Person who's had an encounter with God, they may still be bound hand and foot, just as Lazarus was. But they have to choose to put off the things that are not of God, to purify themselves by the power of God. To hear the voice of God telling us over and over again, purify yourself, cleanse yourself. Be renewed. Put those things behind you. Walk newly. How silly would it have been if Lazarus walked around the rest of his life with the grave clothes, right? And people would have looked at him and been like, this guy is so strange, right? That's so bizarre. Not to mention, he would have continued to still smell and reek of death, of those clothes. And how silly is it when we encounter God and we still continue to walk around carrying the things that stink of sin, rather than purifying ourselves, purifying our souls by the power of God, leaving those things behind that belong in the tomb. And finally, he says, if indeed you've tasted, don't only purify your souls by the power of Christ, but also desire nourishment from Christ. In other words, he says, be fed by Christ. Desire the pure milk of the word that you may grow thereby. Desire the pure milk of the word. So he's saying, encounter Christ, purify your soul by the power of Christ, and continue to be fed by him. And why do we want to be fed? We want to be fed so that we can grow, that we can be transformed. At the tomb that day, what we find is that many of the Jews who come to Mary had seen the things Jesus did, and they believed on him. So in other words, it wasn't just Lazarus and his sisters, but many of the Jews who came that day that saw that they grew, that their lives were transformed. They were fed by the power and the presence of Christ in their life. Brothers and sisters, I want to encourage that we come to encounter Christ this morning. We come and we say to the Lord, Lord, I want to meet you. I want to discover more about you. Not just intellectually, but noetically, spiritually in our souls. We want to meet him this morning. We want to experience him. We want to discover him as if it's new for the first time. As if we're looking at Christ, gazing upon him, and falling in love with him all over again because of his beauty, because of who he is, the power that he has, the glory that he's arrayed with. That we gaze upon him and we're mesmerized by him. But we don't want to just stop at being mesmerized. We don't want to just walk out of here saying, yeah, God is cool. God's great. God is saying, purify yourself as well. And so this morning I encourage you, as you stand before the altar of God, the holiness of God, that you say to him, Lord, I need to purify my soul. I can't do it on my own. I know that with your power, I can be purified, I can be changed. And desire to be fed by him. Not just this morning, but tonight and tomorrow morning and the next day and the next day. Sit at his feet and be fed.